Hey everybody, welcome into TCO Studios in Eagan. It's Mike Wobschall and Ben Leber here to bring you the 2019 Verizon Vikings Training Camp Preview Show. Ben, it's here, football season.
It's finally here. I'm excited, you're excited, the players are excited, the fans are excited, and they should be. New faces, higher expectations, a lot to prove, and a lot to just sort of get rid of from last year.
Yeah, and a lot to get to in the show tonight. It's going to include an interview with your quarterback, Kirk Cousins. He joins us on the Training Camp Preview Show. You're also going to hear from Alexa Score, who's going to sit down with Vikings Manager of Special Events, CJ Rue, to give you an idea of what it takes to put on training camp from a behind-the-scenes perspective. But to help us out with the football portion of this show, we're going to go out to the Land O'Lakes practice field. Voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen, is joined by Vikings game plan analyst Ron Johnson. Guys, what's going on?
What an absolutely joyous time of the year indeed. It's beautiful for day one of Minnesota Vikings training camp in 2019. Ron, we've been through organized team activities, OTAs, mini camp. Now here we go with 2019 training camp. There's a big difference between OTAs and training camp, right?
Yeah, one word, sense of urgency. Training camp, it's all about trying to make this 53-man roster. As far as OTAs, you're just learning. You're trying to figure out what the Vikings are about. What does everyday practice look like? Now, you can get cut and be done and have to go to another team. So there's this urgency has to pick up, and they have to be able to understand and move as fast as the veterans are moving.
Now, coming up around the corner, we are going to hyperanalyze the defensive tackles for the Vikings from OTAs into training camp. We're going to deep dive the starters and the depth, and we also have a couple of breakout players for you. That's all coming up from the fields at Vikings training camp. Back to you, Wobby.
All right, let's kick this thing off in style. An interview with our quarterback, Kirk Cousins. He checked into training camp early along with the other quarterbacks and the rookies, and he decided to spend a few moments with us, so we had a chance to walk and talk with the quarterback. Check it out. All right, Kirk, 2019 training camp. You're on your way here for the first day of camp. What's going through your mind? You've done this a few times now.
I mean, you realize, hey, this is going to be a long journey now, hopefully all the way till February. But you just take one day at a time. Try to stack days on top of each other.
You have that break in the summer. You get to the end of it, but is there a part of you that's like ready to go? And I can't wait to get there.
I mean, this is my livelihood. This is what I do. The rest time is for preparing to do what we're going to do this fall. And so I'm training and I'm thinking about, the team and how we can build team chemistry and how we can all work together to win a lot of games, get to the playoffs, and hopefully win a world championship. And so it's all building for that. I'm excited for what this season could turn out to be.
Yeah, when you look at the 2019 season, I mean, there's a lot of familiar pieces are coming back, Thielen and Diggs and Cook. What do you think about that group that you guys have around you?
Well, I love our team. I love our locker room. I think we have a great roster. I think it starts with, do you have the horses to make a run? And I think we do. We just have to be dialed in. And if we are, we should be in every game, and we should have a great chance at the end to win them. And I like our chances in those moments.
Wait, that!
Oh! All right.
What were some things you liked this spring about the offense? Because some of the defensive guys were like, you know what, it was different this spring. Like, those guys did some things that challenged us.
This has been a staple with this system and these coaches going back a while, so it's no secret. But the bootlegs have been very tough for people to stop. I think our defense noticed that in the spring. And the fast zone, outside zone run concepts, I think really make our defense have to move side to side, maybe more than they would like. And, the run and the pass game really marry well with one another. And so I think their eyes, when they're looking in the backfield and looking at formations and motions and splits and tendencies, they just really can't get as much of a tell on what we might be doing or what's coming, and they're having to react after the snap, and a lot of times that's too late. And so I do think it's a good scheme as far as kind of how you're able to kind of lead them off their trail. Good snap. Good job. That's a great snap. Have a good day. Let's have a great day.
New center this year for you, a rookie, Garrett Bradbury. You remember what it was like being a rookie. He plays a position that's inherently a leadership position, maybe a little bit, and he's got some responsibility.
Yeah, I don't have any concern from a standpoint of being a leader, being a pro, being ready to go. He's just that kind of guy. He carries himself well. He's mature beyond his years. So it's more about, we got to get practice reps so that he can say, I've been there, I've done this, and this in this big moment in a game is not the first time I've seen this look or had to block this front. And as long as he gets those reps, which he will, and in time he'll keep getting better, all the hardware is there for him to be a very good player for a very long time.
Talk to me about Diggs and Thielen. Like you've had good duos and trios at other stops.
It's no secret. I mean, those guys are what makes our offense have an electric, big play potential. We have other good players. Dalvin Cook will do that. Kyle Rudolph will do that. But at the end of the day, those guys are what really could make us special. And so we just want to continue to fine-tune our chemistry such that we're really on the same page all the time. And just the details of playing the position and then of me to them understanding what they're doing, I think we can always fine-tune that.
Aren't you excited to have these bleachers full of people? And I know it's practice, but you're still out here in front of fans and getting ready for them, right?
I think it's one of the great parts of NFL football that is a little underrated is that whole training camp experience. It's great for fans to come watch practice and see a different side of our job. And it's a lot of fun for us to be able to practice in front of a crowd. They bring a lot of energy. And I think it just makes for a great atmosphere and kind of feels like the State Fair a little bit out here, and then we lead right into the State Fair when camp finishes up.
All right, man. Well, have a great camp. Thanks
Thank
for all
you.
your hard work. Stay healthy, okay?
Yeah, all right. Appreciate it, Water.
All right, Ben, for the quarterback, there's a lot of noise, right, coming in, trying to come inside. I sense some eagerness from him in that conversation and being around him here so far, and I think that's good from the leader of your football team, to be eager and to be ready to work.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, day one of training camp, what was that like for you in all the years that you came to training camp? You were driving down to Mankato or wherever you were going. Day one of training. We just saw what it was like for Kirk Cousins. For you, what was it like?
Don't paint that picture anymore. Anxiety, a lot of anxiety. I mean, bubble guts. I mean, didn't feel great.
Yeah.
And you're excited, but there's a lot of anxiety because it is your job, and this is where you go out and prove it. And you also know that from the time that you check in till the end of the season, which is hopefully late into January and early February, that it is going to be a grind. It is going to be a grind every single day, and your body's not going to feel great. Your mentality's not going to feel great. So it's anxiety filled, but also a little bit excitement.
Yeah, well, everyone's in the building and ready to go. When we look at this rookie class, Ben, you spend a lot of time assessing and analyzing the class of incoming rookies. Now you know who the Vikings have. Anyone in this class in particular that you're looking forward to watching during camp?
Yeah, to me, the whole narrative of the offseason was offensive line. This is before the draft. Like, they need to solidify the offensive line, and they did that with their first-round pick. And I think Garrett Bradbury is the guy that is a 2-for-1 deal. You get a center that you think is a high-end center and could possibly be an all-pro or pro bowler, and then you can move Pat Elflein, who's a really good high-end player as well, and move him to left guard. So you solidify, you think, 2 positions with 1 draft pick. And I think, just having that maturity out of Garrett, having the ability to play in a similar style system in college, hopefully a lot of that translates. And you've already heard it from Kirk when you talk to him about he really enjoys being around him, and he does seem like an old soul, and I think that's going to be good for the offensive line.
Yeah. You're a good sport. You just talked about offense.
Yeah.
Good job, man. I'm going to give you a defensive rookie to watch, all right?
Okay.
How about Chris Boyd, the corner from Texas?
It's a good one.
You talked about a first-round pick, Chris Boyd, a 7th-round pick, last round of the draft, 217th player chosen in the draft. But the Vikings take him, and you thought maybe they wouldn't need corners. You can forget about corners, but suddenly, depth at corner is going to be a spot to watch in this camp, with Mike Hughes on the PUP and with Holton Hill set to be suspended when the regular season begins. So I'm looking forward to watching some of these young DBs, and I think Chris Boyd is one to keep an eye on out there in practice. Really fast, which is something you can't coach.
Exactly.
All right, so let's go to some veterans. Barr and Kendricks, the dynamic between those two. They play a position you played in the NFL, linebacker, and now you've been watching Barr and Kendricks for a long time. The Barr-Kendricks dynamic, what's your perspective on it?
It's fantastic. It's just something that you don't see very often, where 2 guys have that much experience personally together from college, now into the NFL. And, you talk about trust all the time, building trust with coaches and players. These 2 guys trust each other more than anything. They are truly like brothers out on the field. And with that, they can play off of each other. I think they complement each other very well. You've got a guy in Barr that goes downhill, and you got a guy in Kendricks that goes more side to side. And they can ask each other, You know, when Kendricks is blitzing, hey, Anthony, what can I do here? Likewise, when Barr's dropping in coverage, he's got playing space. Hey, Eric, what can I do here? What are the things that I need to work on? And you can trust that you're going to get great information, and they're looking out for each other. So it's a special relationship.
It's a pretty cool thing where their similarities is what leads to their synergy, but their differences is what makes them a good X's and O's tandem out there.
Yeah,
so pretty cool
absolutely.
dynamic. Yeah. All right, let's talk more defense, but let's go to the middle and the front of the Vikings defense, the defensive line. To do that, we're going to go back outside to Land O'Lakes practice fields where Ron Johnson and PA are standing by. What's up, guys?
Boy, this defense is so good for the Minnesota Vikings. And you know, the defensive tackle situation arguably could be the strength of the defense. The projected starters into the regular season, Linval Joseph and Shamar Stephen. Now camp battles behind them. Jalen Holmes, Jaleel Johnson, rookie Armin Watts, and Hercules Mataafa. Overall, Ron, what do you think of the defensive tackles?
I think Shamar has to come in and not worry about replacing Steven Richardson, or Sheldon Richardson. The biggest thing for him is just doing his job. 2017, without Sheldon, they were a great defense, second in the run, second in the pass. Last year had a little bit of drop off in the run, 15th in the NFL. And so now with this defense, they can stop anybody when it comes to the pass because of Mike Zimmer's defense. Now on first and second down, they just have to improve on stopping the run, and they'll be just fine.
You know, guys, I think a big key to taking a dynamite defense and even making it better is finding routes to making sure Linval Joseph is double teamed less frequently. And in doing that, you can get Everson Griffin, Stephen Weatherly, Anthony Barr, and Daniil Hunter. Maybe you rush them different ways so four hands aren't always on Linval. That's going to be a big key into the season. Speaking of the pass rush, my breakout player for 2019, well, it's Everson Griffin. He only had 5.5 sacks last year. Maybe more conspicuously, he had 0 forced fumbles for the first time since his rookie year. Everson has had a terrific mental and physical offseason. Look for Everson to bust out this season for an elite Vikings defense. Who's your breakout player?
Mackenzie Alexander. If you look at these offenses they're going to face, specifically the Falcons to start the season off, you got 3 great receivers, and one's going to have to be stopped in the slot. The slot right now in the NFL is becoming one of the most prolific positions where guys are taking advantage of the third DB. Well, Mackenzie Alexander has to emerge and be one of the top slot defenders this year.
Guys, look at those scenarios and names we mentioned on this defense. Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin, Daniil Hunter. What about Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, Harry the Hitman? Unbelievably good defense. It's cohesive, and it's back at training camp. Back to you, Michael.
Okay, thanks, guys. Let's give Ben a chance to talk defense.
Yes,
too much
please,
offense talk
please,
for you,
too
Ben.
Too much offense.
Breakout player for 2019 for you, Ben.
I'm going to go safety Anthony Harris. You know, he played 9 games last year, started 9 games, and if you go back and watch those 9 games, I think he got his hands on the ball every single game via a pass breakup or an interception. And I think he really has the ability to be an in-the-box player as well. He can blitz a little bit, he takes great run angles, and now you can rock and roll those safeties with Harrison Smith and really give this defense a lot of flexibility. So I think the ceiling is really high for him.
Yeah, Andrew Sendejo was a tone setter for the Vikings defense with his physicality. So a different flavor of safety in Anthony Harris here for 2019. Going to be exciting to see what Zim has in store for the safety tandem of Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris. All right, enough football talk for now. What does it take to run a Vikings training camp? Well, our very own Alexa Score sat down with CJ Rue, the Vikings manager of special events, to talk about just that.
Out here at TCO Performance Center with CJ Rue. He knows all there is to know about training camp. We're on to year 2 here at TCO Performance Center. What's new for 2019 Verizon Vikings Training Camp?
Quite a bit compared to year 1. The biggest thing is the daily schedule. Due to some football scheduling, we decided to not open to public until 11 o'clock, so after the walkthrough. Practice will be a little bit earlier too, so practice will start about 2 o'clock and end at around 4:30 or so. So we're only going to be open to the public from about 11 to 5:30. So a little bit shorter window, but we think that it'll improve the fan experience, and we're going to bring in some new things to do, so it should be a lot of fun. Parking is a little bit different this year too for fans that are coming out. We had to split our parking lots this year, so they'll just need to pay closer attention to all the signage and the flaggers and things just to ensure that they get in safely and smoothly. But those are the 2 biggest changes.
What do fans need to know before they leave home and head to camp this year?
The biggest, the schedule. Make sure that they're not on last year's schedule. Our autograph policy has changed this year. We're now moving to an 18 and under for autographs. That's a big thing. We want fans to make sure that they're aware of that before they come out. And really we want them to be prepared for the parking, for traffic. There are some traffic things going on, so make sure that they pay attention to our website and to some of our push notifications before they get here, so they get here on time.
I hear there are some theme days this year. Can you tell us how you decided on those?
We had some internal committees. We had a pretty long talk about how to improve training camp in some ways now that we're here, that we can show our appreciation to people in our community, our armed forces, things like that. So we have a First Responders Day on August 2nd, which is really celebrating fire, police, first responders from the health side of things. So we'll bring in some vehicles, some activities, a couple demonstrations. August 1st, we have a Salute to Service Day, similar to like what we do during the season, bringing in armed forces, veterans, currently enlisted people, and just, again, showing our appreciation for all they do for us to allow us to be able to be here.
Tell us a little bit more about the helmet hike and why you implemented that.
It's something new that we got the idea from one of our people internally, and basically what we're doing is we're going to do a surprise and delight every day. So we'll find 10 kids, various ages. We're not going to publicize who's selecting the kids or anything like that. So it'll be selected completely at random. We'll take them over to the locker room prior to practice, and as the players come out, the kids will get paired up with the player and they'll be able to walk over holding their helmet or whatever. But it's really just about creating another lasting memory for our young fans.
And what can fans do when they're not watching practice?
Quite a bit. So behind us, we have the Kids Zone. So there's all sorts of activities for kids down here on the field. New this year, we have an area called the Huddle. And in the Huddle, we'll have an esports lounge. We're gonna have arcade games set up. It's temperature controlled, so if you need to get out of the heat, there's food and beverage available. That's kind of gonna be our hub for entertainment outside of practice.
Awesome, sounds like a whole lot of fun.
We're looking forward to it.
I can't wait.
Thank you, Alexa and CJ. Reminder to reserve seats to come watch the boys practice at 2019 Verizon Vikings Training Camp. You go to vikings.com/training camp for more info and details. Speaking of Vikings.com, that's where you should go to catch coverage of 2019 Verizon Vikings Training Camp. Wall-to-wall coverage of camp on Vikings.com. Here's a couple of highlights coming up. Vikings Game Plan, which is our pre-game television show. That's going to be happening in August. The Voyage is brand new. It's going to give you a never-before-seen, as inside as you can get, look at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings Arcade, also new as well here in 2019 for the Vikings Entertainment Network. The Minnesota Vikings podcast was launched earlier this week. Kevin Stefanski, new offensive coordinator, was our guest on the first edition of the Minnesota Vikings podcast. So that and much more coming up with the Vikings Entertainment Network in 2019. That's going to do it for our preview show for training camp this year. Ben, as we said at the top, we're super excited that football season is here. The one key, Ben Leber's key for the Vikings for training camp this year.
Oh man, the one key, stay healthy.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you were going to say.
Yeah, stay healthy.
Let's get everyone to the starting line on time and healthy, and we'll have a really good 2019 season. On behalf of everyone at the Vikings Entertainment Network, including voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen, Ron Johnson, Ben Leber, and yours truly, we thank you for watching tonight's show. Skol Vikings.